Hey guys, it's Nick with Program Practical. Just doing another update on the open source project. I actually went ahead and just did some stuff off camera, just wrap things up. I really needed to do a lot of testing with the proprietary stuff and how it intermingled, and it's all working good. So I wanted to go over real quick what I'm showing, as well as some of the benchmarks that I found. Actually, I have some of the benchmarks back here from my initial testing. But yeah, so we'll jump into this real quick. All right, so nothing too special done here. So as I mentioned before, we needed to just wrap it up into a nice little container and iterate through some stuff. I could have done some things with objects, but I didn't want to get into it. So simply put, I encapsulated that base object in some brackets to make it an array, keeping track of two things. First off, the index, and then second off, the counter. And then we had to change some things around with the font list. Now, before the key, everything had its font list index that needed to be accounted for. So anywhere I called fonts list key, I had to put the index in front of it. So that wasn't too bad, nothing too special there. What we want to do too is know when we're breaking it off. So I know before I mentioned 50, I went ahead and just did the 40. I didn't want to overdo it, with some font names could be long or whatever. So I capped the list at 40. And essentially what this does is it comes through before it gets to any of the loading. It just tests real quick. It adds one to the counter, sees if it is at or above 40. If it is, it adds one to the index, resets the counter, creates a new object at that new index, and then creates a new families object or adds a key and adds a blank families object at that new index, since we are on a new index at that point. And at that point, we go back into this and just start off again with I messed that part up. Let's get rid of that. So we're missing a few fonts, but that's okay. That will fix that. So once we get through that, then we do our standard load in based on if it's a string or an object. And then at the end, real simple, we just had to do a new each for the new font list, and then we just tell it to load each individual list. And with that, it was able to load in all the fonts, minus, because of that little thing, every 40th font. Or every font divisible by 40. But anyways, so in the testing, I saw some really good speeds. So this was actually where it loads in. This initial part up here is the base page load that typically cut off around 16, 17 seconds. And then these long braces here that you're seeing are the actual fonts being loaded in, which are all right here. Here's all the web font files. Like I said, for Google, it is a lot of files, a lot of them. But as you can see, it's pretty short to load in these web fonts. It's really not that bad. And then if you go into one of them in more details, I mean, this is pushing 35. Are these non-modified? It's probably because I refreshed the page. Here, let's try this. Hide that from you. Do a quick reload. Like I said, this beginning part, just with it being on the development environment, takes a while. But none of this is what I'm worrying about. It's, what am I experiencing post page load? Because of this web font load here is an asynchronous job. So here, this comes in and starts grabbing in the web fonts. And those are finishing. So this one took a while. It looks like I might have had a DNS issue. Look at that, stalled for almost a second. Huh. Now that's all a connection thing, so that's more on my end than anything. Which I am wireless right now in my house, so that's not too surprising, I guess. But the actual, so it sends off the request, it waits, and then it downloads the content in milliseconds. I mean, outside of this latency right here, we're looking at around 30 seconds per file, and this is all being done asynchronously, so it's not waiting for one to get done and then the other. It's firing all these off around the same time. So in my testing, I'm not seeing anything outside of maybe half a millisecond, which you initially load in on a logo setting page anyway. So by the time the user clicks over to the font settings tab and then actually clicks on one of the drop down list, the fonts are already loaded. There's nothing more to do. Now, I will say one thing I'm curious about is you notice so I'm messing with it right now. I'm scrolling down. You'll notice it's loading more in. Now, it's not supposed to do that. Theoretically, it's supposed to be adding all of these to an array, and it's supposed to see, oh, I have these fonts, I don't need to load them. Now, on my end of scrolling through these, I'm not experiencing anything weird. Like, it just looks normal. But we do have data activity going on that we probably want to get rid of. So that's probably an issue with the array, and honestly, maybe it's too large. I'm not sure. That's a good question. But yeah, so this is actually working now. I've sent some photos off to my boss to show him that it's what it looks like, and he seems pretty happy with it. Though we still need to get it onto our staging server to see how it does in a production environment. And best case scenario or worst case scenario, the way it's set up, it's all through a flag. So if we decide not to do the fonts list, I either get rid of the flag or set the flag to false, and at that point nothing else comes through. So what I'm interested with right now, I do have it open still, stupid thing. Look at that, it did load in the font still. Oh, it says from cache, so maybe it's not a... It's as if it didn't add to the list though. See, it's loading them all in still, so that's not supposed to happen. That's where what we're doing right here. It should be adding it to a loaded fonts list that doesn't load them again. In fact, that's what this is right here. So the issue is probably up here. Let me let's try this real quick. Console log fonts, font name, loaded fonts. Just do that real quick. Reload this page. Yeah, I was afraid I was gonna yell at me for that, because I'm not entirely... Oh, it's because I'm doing that. Oh, and that's probably why that's... Okay. So, right, so this code I'm spitting out, fonts is the first one. So that's gonna, I never updated that for when I started dealing with objects. I'm also loading that in differently. That's probably why I didn't load it in that way. Loaded fonts. Okay. Well, see, that says true though too. See, that's weird. Well, I guess that's the font object being handed to it. And these are the font names. Here, you guys can't see this. Okay, so they're the font names. These are the font objects. So it's doing each one of these. But even then, that's not supposed to be fonts. That I should be doing font name, and I messed that up. So there's that bug. We'll reload this real quick. Grab my list here. Oops. Okay, yeah, and see there's no new list coming in now, because that's starting to return back true. Okay, so that should actually fix that. Okay. Check that out real quick. See what's happening over here. All right. Placing those two files real quick. Jumping onto here and there's the font loader objects right there. Those are all coming in. Once again, a bit of a delay on the coming in, but all right, making sure I'm at the bottom, giving that a click, and we have no new fonts being loaded in. All right. So like I said, visually, I didn't see anything on my screen. Like on the drop-down list, I'm not seeing any changes. But I don't want to be using data where we shouldn't be using data. So that fixes that little bug. So fantastic. All right. Well, that's awesome. So that that takes care of that. Mark something off on my bulletin board or whiteboard. Add support for font length. Okay. Yeah. All right. So that should be good. Whoop. Yeah, my coffee cup. All right, cool. So yeah, so that's working as expected. What we're gonna do is get some of these changes done, pushed up, and published, so we can get this. So we can go back. I can get my thing on the staging server, since this is a little project from. Sorry, I'm trying to think. Yeah, since this is a gym thing, I need to get that packaged up and to where our server can download it. So I'm going to call this 2 due to the fixes. Okay. Copy Copy that. Let's see. All right. So that is our fix there. This is 3.2. So we gotta get that updated. 3.2 like that. And yeah, I think we're all set. So we got this updated 3.2. Like I said, the main fixes. So that was a fix to the bug, and then adding in the ability or fixing the if the web font list was too big by moving this into a multi RAID kind of thing, and then yeah, the new JavaScript code and JavaScript map, which is all minified, which is good. So I'm gonna commit that to master as well. And I'm gonna go and sync those up because as of right now, I'm pretty much done with this project. I mean, I'm sure there'll be other little things I'll be doing, especially because I want to be adding in support for font weights, and I want to add in support for custom user fonts. But right now, our big thing is just fixing the UI for our dropdown. And that's primarily what we're focused on. So the WebFont-Select Rails again. We have these. I haven't committed this in a while actually. So this has the version 3 and 3.2, the new JavaScript min, and that. I'll do this. Okay. And that is accurate. So we're going to commit that to master 2 and sync that up to GitHub. And then as before, we need to build a new gem spec and publish that gem spec. So as of now, that did publish. So as of now, we got these two guys updated. You can see the activity there. And this is downloadable on rubygems.org. There it is. Bam. Look at that. We actually got a good amount of downloads already. I'm pretty happy with that. Wow, that's awesome. 398 downloads already. And that's one thing I'll end up doing that hasn't been done yet. I really need to actually create documentation for this gem, just like a how to use properly thing. Kind of goes into how the things are bundled and stuff like that. Just something I haven't done yet. There's still through that index page, I mean, it shows you how you can use it, but it doesn't really go into the details of using it or anything like that. But yeah. So yeah, thanks for anyone who tuned in. There's been about 3 live streams now in updating this WebFont-Select. and it's really starting to come together. It's starting to look like a project that, yeah, I mean, highly usable. It's one of those where one of the big reasons why I wanted to port this into its own open source project, because I'm like, this little drop down can be so useful. And it's something, there's a lot of good solutions out there right now, but a lot of them are so pigeonholed. Like the one that this project originally came from, ours looks quite a bit different now, through being able to filter and stuff like that, and the preloads. But yeah, pretty happy. It's probably the first open source project I'm really excited to have, and looking forward to maintaining. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. I'm Nick with Program Practical. If you have any questions, anything you'd like to see or anything like that, feel free to leave some stuff in the comments below. Hopefully going to cut down some of these videos so you don't have to watch the whole live stream. But that takes time. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and have a great day.